What's up, everyone? How's it going? I want to do this quick vlog here, basically discussing my thoughts on ultra-wide gaming. Alright, today I had my first opportunity ever to actually play games on an ultra-wide 21:9 display. And as you all know, ramping up to this brand new computer that I'm going to be building, pretty much in the beginning, the first quarter of 2016, pending on when Mirror's Edge and Deus Ex Mankind Divided get release dates, I was deciding whether or not I should go with a 21:9, 3440 by 1440 IPS, ultra-wide display, or a Ultra HD 3840 by 2160, 16:9, like 28-inch monitor to go with. And I was kind of going back and forth, but I never experienced gaming on any of these monitors. I still to this day haven't experienced gaming at 4K, but today I went to Fry's between my classes, and I noticed that they had that one gaming computer set up, and usually they have the this really nice Asus monitor. It's the ROG Swift PG287Q. It's this really nice 1440p 144 hertz TN based monitor, but it's really nice. It's like an $800 monitor or whatever. So they actually have that set up there with their gaming computer. But for some reason, when I went there today, they took the monitor out and they had the gaming computer powered on, not connected to any display. And it's right next to the ultra wide setup that they have right next to it, but there's no games on the computer. There's really nothing on the computer. You can just move around on the desktop because it's not connected to the internet. It doesn't have any programs, any movies, any games, or anything like that on there that you can really, use to test out the monitor. It's just there for the sake of you looking at it, just to check out and say, wow, that's a really nice ultra-wide monitor. So I asked the guys whether or not they could, disconnect it, which really wasn't that much trouble. I mean, they would disconnect it and they would move it over to, the other desk where the gaming computer was. And it was nice that they actually did help me out there. And what I tested out was the LG 34UM97. Alright, it is a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor. It's curved as well. And I decided to play, I probably played Far Cry 4 and Dying Light for almost 2 hours. Alright, so I was there for quite a long time, and I really wanted to sort of get the feel of what it was like to game with this ultra, wide display and this big aspect ratio, and how games would handle it, and also how graphics cards and stuff would handle it. They had the Asus Strix GTX 980 4GB card in there, and it handled Far Cry 4 pretty much ultra settings, but it was more in like the 40 frames per second range, so it was fine. Unfortunately, the only thing is that I was connected via HDMI to the monitor, and on HDMI the monitor only supports 50 hertz, so I had to kind of give up the extra 10 frames per second for 60. In order to experience the game. It was still fine. It wasn't choppy or anything like that. But it was it was only displaying at 50 hertz rather than 60, what it's normally at. So what was it like? And it was very interesting when I first set it up, right? And I first took a look at it. It's different when you're just browsing desktop. When you're just browsing desktop, you're just looking around. You're like, okay, I got this really nice wide panoramic view of everything that's going on. I have all the screen real estate. Okay, that's nice. But when you fire up a game, it is a little bit different. It's very odd at first because you're not used to seeing this huge wide angle view of everything, and the game actually doesn't scale. Certain elements don't scale properly to the display, meaning that you'll have your heads-up display in not off into the far right corner how you would expect, right? Let's talk about Far Cry 4, right? So you'd have your map, but it wouldn't be off to the very side of the monitor. It'd be off to the side on the right, but it'd only go as much as the 16:9 aspect ratio, because the game's UI doesn't scale properly to a 21:9 aspect ratio. So that being said, you do have elements like that where you have your your heads-up display and things like that kind of sitting almost in near the center of the screen because things don't properly align to the edges. It's kind of like a sacrifice, and this is the big thing with ultra-wide is that, hey, it's really nice to get this big, wide view of everything that's going on, but a lot of applications and stuff don't seemingly support it, you know? The games support the resolution, but the UI elements and stuff aren't, you know, properly scaled correctly. So what happens is, you know, you're playing games and you have your mini-map right here, but you'll have all this extra screen space of nothing on the side. It's just something you can just, you know, ignore. It's not that, I don't want to really say it bothered me at all when I was playing, but it was just something I noticed, you know, is that a lot of games don't do it properly. I know Battlefield 4 actually does scale everything properly at that ratio, at that aspect ratio, but like I was saying, Far Cry 4, Dying Light was another one as well where it just doesn't do that properly. So, besides that, playing at a 1440p ultra-wide resolution, the image was sharp. It was an IPS panel, of course, because, you know, you get this ultra-wide view. And also it was curved. And the biggest disappointment out of everything was that the curve was almost negligible in terms of you wouldn't even notice it was there. Like, oh, you know, you look at the monitor on display, right, and you're like, oh wow, it's curved. This is nice. This would definitely help me immerse in my gaming experience. But when you're playing, you don't notice any curved edges whatsoever. In fact, you're just kind of like looking out to the side. You don't get this feel that everything's kind of coming out towards this way. It seems very flat, you know. And maybe it's LG's fault for not curving the display more. Samsung's VA panel one, I forgot the model number of that, but it's their ultra-wide monitor. It's more curved, and they actually did have it on display, but unfortunately it was a broken model for some reason. It wasn't working. They didn't even have a power brick to it. But it's curved more. It's a VA panel, but it is curved more. But for the LG one, you didn't notice the curve at all. And when this monitor is asking for $1,300, all right, pretty much an extra $300 on top of its predecessor, the 34 UM95. You're paying an extra $300 for the curved aspect, and you wouldn't notice the curved aspect at all unless you're actually sitting there looking at it. When you're playing games, it's completely unnoticeable. So I was very surprised at that. It did take me a little bit to get used to in terms of the ultra wide aspect ratio. Far Cry 4 for some reason didn't have the ability to set your field of view and you know, to change it up. Dying Light did, so you got to see everything, you know, properly fit. But Far Cry 4 does it automatically, I guess. It's nice. Having that extra screen space kind of gives you more of a peripheral view of what you would actually see in first person, because our peripheral view, when we're looking at things, we do have a really wide field of view. It's not so straightforward in games. It's weird because like our peripheral view is like out here, right? Out here. This is our peripheral view. I can still see my hand moving when I'm putting it far off to 90-degree angles right here. All right. This is just our particular, you know, field of view. We can see very wide, right? With games, it's like it condenses it on the 60:9 aspect ratio, condenses it down to here. So it's like we can't really see anything but with what's in the middle spectrum of what the monitor can actually display, and that's a 60:9 aspect ratio. All right, ultra wide kind of brings it out more, so you do get a more sort of, you know, realistic view of what you would be seeing with your actual eyes if you were the character itself in first person. And it does actually surprisingly help, although I didn't find myself so, you know, so taken aback, like wow, I could see everything. the coolest thing that I could see was just more screen space. You know, it was really cool when especially when you're doing driving in Far Cry 4. I could see all the way to the other end of the car's dash and to its window, to its door. I can see that freaking far, which is pretty awesome. You know, so you do get more fields of view when you're focusing on enemies and you're shooting them, and you're shooting at one guy here. You can actually see enemies and stuff off in the side here. So you can, that kind of stuff does actually help you, all right? But as far as it being a more immersive experience because of its wire field of view, because it's curved, the curve was negligible, as I said. You wouldn't even notice that it was there. And the ultra-wide aspect ratio is nice because you can see much, but I wasn't so impressed as really I thought it was going to be. And maybe it's kind of a good thing. I'm happy and I'm kind of like disappointed at the same time because I was really deciding whether or not I was going to go ultra wide or ultra HD for this brand new build. And I can tell you guys right now, I'm doing ultra HD, even though it's going to be harder to push the pixels at those resolutions, at that resolution for mono AAA games. I would still think the sharpness and the overall clarity of the image of an ultra, HD 4K monitor would be a much better payoff than getting an ultra wide display. You also have to factor in this as well, is when you're playing console games, like I'm going to be playing console games on my computer. So if I do get an ultra wide display, I'm going to have to deal with these black bars on the side because the image is going to format to a 16:9 aspect ratio. The consoles themselves do not have the capability to, output at a 21:9 aspect ratio. You can go into the monitor settings and change the aspect ratio so it widens everything out and fits the screen, but that makes everything look out of proportion and frustrating, and you don't want that. You want a proportioned image so everything looks normal, and not something that makes everything look fat and very wide and just weird, So that being said, that was one of the main reasons. And also, there's still a pretty good number of PC games that don't support an ultra-wide aspect ratio, that will have you play at like a 1080p or 1440p 16:9 aspect ratio, but will put black bars on the side so you can format it correctly and it doesn't appear, super, super wide. So, I made my decision. You also have to factor in that the price for ultra-wide is just so much more expensive than 4K. You can find a very, very good 4K monitor for $600. And that curved display, the ultra-wide that I just tested today was $1,300. Or the one that isn't curved, but the same resolution as that one, is $1,000. So I really had to factor in here what's practical for me, what I'm used to, and what I think will have more seamless support, in the future. It's nice to have ultra wide, and you have more screen real estate, and you can spread things out. I get it. That's really nice. All right. But when it comes down to my personal preference here and what I'm personally using it for, that I really am going to be playing my console games on this display at the same time. And, 1440p, although is much easier to run than a 4K, setup, it's still, for me, the cost of the display itself isn't really it's not something that I really find, worth it. So I'm thankful that I at least got the opportunity to check it out. It was really nice, and I had a fun time playing it. I played Far Cry 4 for a long time. I really liked the aspect ratio there. The game looked gorgeous on the IPS display. But I think 4K, with its added clarity and sharpness and detail, it's going to make every game pop. And when I do play games on my console, 1080p connected via HDMI on a 4K 16:9 monitor, I will at least get the full screen picture, and I won't have to deal with black bars on the side, which is going to be annoying. So that's it. I just wanted to do a quick impressions on my experience with Ultra Wide. I finally tested it out. I wanted to let you guys know what I actually think and what I'm actually doing. About the 4K gaming rig, it's pretty much done. Not in terms of me actually having the parts, but in terms of me choosing which parts to get, it's pretty much done. There's only two things I'm waiting for. The monitor, which I just found one recently, and I'm really sold on this monitor, but I'm just waiting to get for more stuff to come out. That's really what I'm waiting for. So we'll see within another year's time or so whether the monitors that will come out then will be vastly superior. All right, but I figured, I want to get a good monitor, and monitors are important. All right, I'd rather spend $700 on a really good monitor and then not have to upgrade that monitor for years to come, So that to me is much more valuable than me just spending a cheap $400, $500 TN panel 4K monitor, and it's crappy, and I'll just upgrade it in 3 years' time. No, I want this monitor to last me. So the monitor I have is pretty much, it's picked out now, but I'm just waiting for more stuff to come out. If you guys actually want to check it out, it's the Acer S277HK. Very odd design monitor, but the specs are really good on it. I read the professional reviews and stuff, and everyone says it's a really, really good monitor. It actually has HDMI 2.0. It's the first 4K monitor to support HDMI 2.0, so that will help future-proof me in a way, which will be really nice. And the next thing I'm waiting for is the graphics card, right? I'm pretty much sold on the GTX Titan because it is like the 4K gamers graphics cards of choice. But we'll see what comes out. Maybe the 980 Ti is going to impress me, or maybe somehow in the near future, NVIDIA is going to put something really special out. I'm not going to AMD. It's not that I don't trust AMD. It's not anything like that. In fact, AMD is a great brand. It's just for me, I like the technology that NVIDIA offers more than AMD. AMD's technology, they kind of share it with everyone. I can run Tress effects on an NVIDIA card. You can do all those special things. The only thing you're really missing out on is Mantle. But with DirectX 12 coming out, it doesn't really matter. So that being said, I'm going with NVIDIA. All right. So those are the two things I'm waiting for. It's going to be a very expensive computer. We're talking, it's a 4K gaming computer. It's not a cheap task. But when it does get built, man, that thing is going to be freaking sweet. And I am so excited to finally be able to, to make this jump into the 4K, gaming world, and to, finally experience, games, next-gen games at a next-gen level, It's going to be pretty freaking awesome. 1080p's been around for like 10 years it's been. 10 years I think it's been since this year. Wasn't it 2005 it came out, 1080p? Yeah, it's been around for quite a long time, and it's time to move on, I guess. So I'm really excited. Stick with me, guys, as we go on later in the future. I will be doing a full build of this computer, recording it. I'm going to be taking all your feedback into consideration from the last time I built my computer, and I promise to each and every one of you guys who watched my building a computer videos way back years ago, got tens of thousands of views. People say I screwed that fuck up, building that computer. I promise you, I am going to regain your trust with this new computer. This is going to be freaking, you guys are going to be surprised, all right? There's so much knowledge and studying that I've done and accumulated over, the past 3 years it's been of me owning this computer. I built it in the beginning of 2012, so yeah, there's just been a lot of things I've learned, and definitely I'm excited to put that to good use. And it's gonna be a pretty freaking awesome build. So that's it. I just wanted to give my quick impressions on ultra wide and let you guys know what I think. And I hope you all have a good one. I will talk to you all soon. And until next time, I do have more Bloodborne videos coming up. So tune in to watch those later. Have a good one.